What's in the Hat is produced in Burnaby, British Columbia, Canada, which is located on the unceded territories of Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam peoples. Each nation has distinct histories and distinct traditional territories that fully or partially encompass the city. We encourage you to learn more about the host nations whose ancestors have occupied and used these lands, including parts of present-day Burnaby for thousands of years.
Oh, hey! Didn't see you guys there.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Yoga Rosh.
And you're watching
What's in the Hat?
So, what can you expect from this podcast?
From this podcast, you will expect content created by people with disability.
Oh, so is it a podcast about disability?
No, it's not. It's so much more than that.
So, Rosh, what's the Laughing Matters mini-series all about?
This mini-series is all about education and making it accessible for everybody.
Sounds awesome. Tell me more.
We are putting professors on the spot, LOL, to learn more about their field and how humor connects us all.
What are we talking about today?
Education.
Hello everyone, you're watching What's in the Hat with me, Janette, Hannah, and Leighton, our amazing guests. And remember, laughing matters.
Great. Thank you, Janette. And I just wanted to provide a brief land acknowledgement. And today we're located in Burnaby, British Columbia, which is located on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam peoples. So thanks everyone for joining us today. And I'm super excited to introduce our guest, Leighton, who is an assistant professor in the Faculty of Education, UBC Okanagan campus. I think that's a little dated. You can correct me.
I'll update you.
And did teach courses in the elementary, middle, and secondary undergrad programs, where he has developed and taught in graduate diplomas in the areas of special education, diversity, literacy, and learning theory. He has over 20 years of experience as a school and district-based resource teacher and professional development facilitator across British Columbia, the Yukon, and the Northwest Territories. Welcome back, and thank you to our show, Leighton. And if you could update us a bit on what you're doing today, because I think this is a little bit old.
It's all true.
Yeah.
It's now 10 more years.
Yes.
And I am an associate professor
Yes.
at the University of British Columbia in the Vancouver campus, but I lead the programs out of Nelson, British Columbia, which is the east part of the province. And so still do that same work around inclusion and diversity and teacher education. And I'm also the co-director of the Canadian Institute for Inclusion and Citizenship, which is a research institute dedicated to collaborative research with individuals with developmental disabilities.
So awesome. And that fits perfectly with our show because we're trying to make academia more accessible and more fun. So thank you so much for joining us.
Hands up.
Yay! And Janette will take us away with our next segment, which is called the Fellow 5 Questionnaire. So she's going to have some quick-fire questions for you, Leighton.
I'm excited and ready.
Yeah, so stoked. So just answer what's the first thing that comes into your mind. Okay, here we go. What would you say is your biggest passion?
Music.
Yes. What is your relationship with disability or disability community?
My parents are both blind, and in the 1940s, they took kids from their homes. They couldn't go to school in public schools, so they went to residential. They had to go to residential school. And so I grew up with disability advocate parents who trained me up to everything I do is kind of around disrupting systems of oppression.
This sounds really nice.
It wasn't very short. I'll make it shorter for the next one.
That was great.
That's good, don't worry. Where is your favorite place to go in the Lower Mainland or Metro Vancouver region, and why?
I love Granville Island so much, but really just anywhere where you're going to the water, to the ocean.
What's surprising or unique quality about yourself?
Surprising. I am surprisingly excited about being quiet and reading books.
That's actually kind of cool. I do that too sometimes. What animal would be your sidekick?
My sidekick. Well, I have a 1-year-old, basically puppy still. And then we always have my mom's retired seeing eye dogs. So I have like 2 sidekicks, one on each side, but they can't come together because the little one loves the big one too much. So I have like a dual sidekick situation.
That's dope. Yeah.
Thanks for that support. I feel cooler than I came in.
Well, thank you for killing the fellow 5 questionnaire. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So next we have another brief little icebreaker. So it's our card game brought to you by Kirko and In With Forward. They created these prompts. So there's an image, memory, and sound prompt that you get to choose from. And then you're going to share the first memory that comes to mind from said prompt. So
is everybody as old as me? I have a lot of memories. This could okay.
Yeah.
I'll just choose one.
Just like the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
So would you like image, words, or sounds?
I think image.
Image. Okay. So pick a
Choose one. I'm choosing one. Here we go. And
some are quite abstract.
Well, and I didn't bring my glasses into the room, but it's okay. I get the idea. This is kind of a watercolor representation of kind of like well, trees with a background. I can't actually see what's in the background, but it makes me think of the Rockies, the mountains. And I work in the West Kootenays, but if you go over the mountains again to the East Kootenays, it looks a lot like this, where you got like mountains and rocks and shrubs. And so you're hiking up and down. I love hiking so much. So it makes me think of the East Kootenays and hiking on paths up mountains.
That's so nice.
So beautiful.
That's very
love
good
it.
picture.
I feel like I'm there with you.
Come on down, people. Come to the mountains.
Wonderful. And so next up, we have Jenna on the spot. So Jenna is our virtual fellow. So she's in Victoria, but she submits a question to our podcast every episode. And so her question for you this episode, Layden, who is a very experienced teacher of teachers, but used to be a teacher himself, of course.
Okay. Ladies, cooking and spice. The subject is including profession, which most special and unique thing has ever happened in your class.
So her question is, what's the most special or unique thing that's ever happened in your class?
Well, I know somebody who works at Possibilities who I taught, DP Leal.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when DP in her class of students, there were about 30 of these folks. They're all, I don't want to say DP's age, but let's just say I taught them in the 1990s. We all went to Romeo and Juliet in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just by fluke. We got off the bus downtown, and my best friend from high school was busking on the street with his saxophone and his wife. And so all of my students met my childhood friend.
Whoa.
And my childhood friend then started telling them stories about me being a teenager, and they loved it. And they only wanted to talk about me and my background and the things that I did and who I was as a teenager. And so that was my 2 worlds colliding, was very surprising. So it's almost like you have to get out in the community and things just happen because you have relationships in the community, and then the students see you're like a real person, and then they really thought of me as a lot more fun and interesting than just their teacher.
That's so cool. It kind of reminds me of George Costanza, and like where his like in Seinfeld, where like his worlds are colliding. He doesn't want his fiance to know what his friends are up to, and then they tell him that it's just so embarrassing for him. It makes me laugh.
My whole teaching career was very Seinfeld. Plus, I basically dressed like Jerry Seinfeld back then. So I just had like a shirt with a collar, like straight jeans. Very good connection. I make myself Jerry instead of George. Or maybe a little bit of Elaine in there too.
Yeah.
Hair.
Well, next up we have our segment we call off-ish hours. So you're a professor, you're used to office hours. And our first question is, what is an inclusive education and how does that actually look inside a classroom?
Oh, just a small question.
Just really small.
Wow. Inclusive education, it really is meant to be the opposite of special education. So in special education, you used to have classes where kids had to go because people thought they couldn't be in the main class. And inclusive education is you design for everybody based on what they bring. And then the benefit of that is that if you plan for everybody, it benefits everybody. So if somebody needs more visuals like this, then everybody gets more visuals. If somebody needs clearer instructions, everybody gets clearer instructions. So inclusive education is designing your teaching or your classroom for everybody, and it benefits everybody. But you plan for the greatest diversity of who's there, not some imaginary kids, but actually who's there. And then by planning for that diversity, everybody benefits from the things that those people need.
That's so awesome. Because I think for me, growing up, the classes were always separate, and I don't even feel like that was that long ago. And it's really cool to see that it's just starting to change, and there's still work to do, but it's going in the right direction.
We're 40 years in, and there's still work to do.
Yes.
Somebody was texting this morning, somebody's the same age as me. It's our 50th year in education, if you count when we went to school too.
Yeah. Okay.
And even then, there's so much work to be done, but we have made some good strides.
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool. What motivated you to focus on inclusive education?
Oh, I probably snuck that in already. Let me tell you a little bit more. So my dad is from a place called Steinbach, Manitoba. It's a German-Canadian farming community in Manitoba. And my mom's from a little town called Galahad, Alberta, 196 people, but 197 when my mom came home for the summer. And so because they couldn't go to their schools and their communities, they had to go all the way to Brantford, Ontario on the train to the school for the blind. And so what brought me to this is that my mom and my dad don't have the same relationships with their families that their siblings do because they weren't there all the time. And so, kids deserve to grow up in their neighborhoods and to go to their neighborhood schools and to have relationships, not just with their families, but with their peers in ways that they're seen for their whole selves. And it really kind of, my whole thing is about the diversity. It doesn't mean you're lacking. Diversity is your identity, right? And disability is your identity. And so how do we bring ourselves and how do we make society welcoming of our diversity? And so that my mom and dad brought me in and I just can't get out. I try to get out, but I can't because that's what's the most important thing to me.
That's actually very sweet. That's a nice story.
Yeah, it's part of me.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Well, in your experience, what have been the most common misconceptions educators or others have had about an inclusive academic environment?
Wow, you guys are bringing on the questions today.
We're starting with the heavy hitter questions.
I think our school system is really a colonial school system. Like it was created by, people from Europe, brought it to Canada, and that whole system was based on like competition. Like you had to be the best to get the best thing. And that's really a version of society that keeps you in a class. Like the people of this class get this, but the next group can't get that. They only get that. And so it's really hard to like snap something that's so old that is like based on like competition and a certain idea of what's best to say, actually to be a really well-functioning community, we need everybody doing different things because it all fits together. And so it's moving from an independent individuals focus to more like a collective community approach where we're all working together to support each other. And that's a real shift from people thinking this kid can't do this versus what does this kid offer? Right? And if we think about what gifts do we all bring? One of the projects I've been part of, which is around taking up Indigenous conceptions of diversity and disability, is that there is no word for disability in any of the Indigenous languages in British Columbia. The word that's used is gifts. So in Circle, what is the gift that each kid brings, that they bring to the community and that they will use, and how do you foster that gift in how they live? And so if you really start thinking about education as nurturing gifts and honoring the diversities and celebrating them, what a way that we could kind of disrupt or like shake up these misconceptions about if you can't do it, you shouldn't keep going, versus if someone's having a challenge, it tells us that the way things are set up are a problem. We call that the social model of disability, right? It's the barriers that society creates. It's not our diversities that are the problem. It's the barriers we put in place that don't allow us to be ourselves, I think.
That's really deep. Absolutely.
I know, and we haven't even finished our coffee and tea yet this morning. Janette, you and I need more of our caffeine, I think.
Yeah. Wow, that's a really good question. Like, a really good answer. I mean, I actually, I have a few different diagnoses. I'm not going to get into that, but I always looked at myself, I have disabilities. But I like what you said there, because a lot of my family members and my favorite teacher of all times, he said, you don't have a disability, you have an ability to learn differently. And that's the way we should look at it.
Snaps to that, friend. Let's get that on the podcast.
Yeah. Now my question for you is, you've talked about why it's better for people to have a community to share their own messages instead of someone coming speaking for them. Why is that so important, and what do you think about that?
I think a lot about that. How long is this podcast, really? Yeah, there's a phrase in the disability communities that came from Charlton in 1988, nothing about us without us. And now that idea has been taken up by other equity deserving communities, but it really comes from the disability community, which is don't make decisions for us. And if something's going to be happening, we should be part of what that is. And so in my research, in my teaching, it's all about finding out from individuals with disabilities what they want or need, and then creating things with them that both make change and show what that looks like. And so I do that with the theater project I lead. I do that with classroom things that I do. And I've got a new project called Inclusion Through Disability Justice. And so disability justice is this idea that folks, specifically folks with intersectional identities, like disabled folks who are Black or queer or of color, or come from poverty backgrounds, we really need to center their voices, hear from them in terms of what we're doing. And then when we do that, we build these cool pathways in terms of what we're doing. And so it's really about something's going to change if the people who are most affected are making the change. And if we make the change for them, we're probably not going to do it the right way, because we're assuming we know what they need instead of letting them create it with us. And I think that's what a classroom should be, is building a classroom together versus I know what I'm already going to teach. There's stuff I'm going to teach, but you know what? There's the curriculum, the things that the Ministry of Education says you have to do. But you know what? The kids are the curriculum. They bring their lives. And so your teaching comes from what they bring. And you just combine that with your science or your math. But it's way different if it's done together than do it to somebody. In fact, that sucks when somebody does something to you. That's called oppression.
I totally agree with that.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'll do it again. Yes.
I love the nothing about us without us, because it's something, as you were saying, it's rooted in the disability community and it's their message, but it really applies to almost everything in life. No one really likes to be told what to do. It's when you feel like you're an active decision maker and an active part of the message, it's just so much more impactful that way.
The big word I use a lot in my research and my writing and what I do is co-creating. We're co-creator together. We're co-creators. And so that's in the theater project, that's in my teaching, that's in my research. And I really work hard to say whose voice is not being heard and how can we find somebody from that community or with that perspective to collaborate with so that we make sure we're doing a better job in what we make.
And And my next question is, have you noticed any current changes in higher education, such as university, welcoming all students?
Mm-hmm. These are not short answers.
That's okay. We want to learn.
So there are programs at post-secondary institutions for folks with developmental disabilities to take part in academic programs. And so I was involved in those when I was at UBC Okanagan and now UBC Vancouver. And so those have been really terrific programs. And they're not just to my universities, with other universities. But this one project, Janette, I was just telling you about, inclusion through disability justice, is in teacher education. That means people becoming teachers, really working to include folks with disabilities as part of what we're doing. And so are there shifts? Yes. But I do think that the university is actually even more colonial than the kindergarten to grade 12 system, because there's this idea of like, you have to meet this requirement. You have to demonstrate this idea of academic. And so we're moving forward. I think one of the biggest things that moved us forward in the last 15 years is universal design for learning, which is this idea that we design for access. And then just in last fall 2024, they came out with UDL, Universal Design for Learning 3.0. And those guidelines pay even more attention to identity and voice as part of how we're designing. And so it's kind of like combining those two things I'm talking about. So yeah, we're seeing more. And then of course, once you start to notice some things, then you recognize even more barriers. And also once you start to provide voice for folks, then you have to listen.
Yeah.
So if you're just asking for voice, but you still only want to do a few things, that's not how it works. When the system starts to change, when you start to break things, then it's like, what about this? And there's a lot of what about thises.
That's so true.
Then it's a whole reconstruction eventually.
It's a whole reconstruction, and it happens in lots of ways. So are things moving forward? Yes. Universal design for learning has been really helpful. And disability justice actually comes from the other part of my work. Disability justice comes from, I think I mentioned this earlier, from folks from a theater collective in California, Janette, called Sins Invalid. And so it's folks who are folks of color who are queer and have developmental disabilities, and they have a theater company, and they're the ones who coined this idea of disability justice, which is like breaking what we call like a capitalist or individual system to be more of a collective system, to have more voice, to really be looking at things from an access perspective all the time. And so that's something that I'm part of just bringing into post-secondary. It's not something that necessarily was sitting there. And then how do you take an idea? I guess this is what your podcast is about. How do you take an idea and actually make it real by doing it, not just talking about it?
Yeah.
And so that's, I think we're on the edge of that. And that's where my new research grant is part of. And maybe, Janette, you want to be part of the self-advocate group who gives us feedback, because part of the design of that project is having self-advocates, adults with developmental disabilities, being advisors into the redesign of teacher education courses, as well as teacher candidates or future teachers with disabilities. But how do we make sure that folks with disabilities and diverse abilities are part of the changes that we're making? Because it's not disability justice if it's not in partnership with folks with diverse identities and specifically disabled folks making change.
That's beautiful.
In such a short answer.
That's good. Anyway is good.
It's very kind. You're very kind, Jeanette. You should keep this job. You and Oprah, basically.
And now I got another question that kind of sparked my interest.
Okay, I'm ready.
And I guess in one of your videos, you discuss critical literacy, where the kids connected to their own life stories to history lessons, like learning about residential schools. Do you think teachers today are getting better at creating these kinds of powerful creative lessons?
You have the best questions. Am I coming back for another one of these?
If you want.
This is like 1.0. Okay. So yeah, critical literacy has been this really significant approach that teachers are taking up in their classrooms, which really moved from like, here's the right answer to what we read, to what's the message of the author, do you think, based on their background? And then who could you share this message with, do you think needs to hear this idea? And then whose voices are missing or absent? That's the critical part of literacy, which is always looking for whose voice is here, but whose voice isn't here, and what would they say? And then also saying, how does this connect to my life? And so that's kind of foundational critical literacy when you're reading something, but when you're creating something, I know you're an artist, and based on your like combo of your tattoos and your different kinds of painting that you do, right? And like the acrylic and the watercolor, and then your sketch work, right? And so when you think about all your different media in your artwork, it's the same thing for critical literacy. Like, what's important to me? What's something I want to study? But what's the message I have? And how could I tell that message in a medium that makes sense? And so it really moves us away from all kids do the same thing and I tell you what to do versus let's learn about some things. And then what do you want to share with others? And then how do you share that in a way that maybe moves people forward or makes some change? And our fancy word for that in research is agency. Helping kids have some agency or some self-efficacy, where the learning you're doing in literacy is all about them communicating something to others that's an important message. So it's not about receiving and being told. It's about taking what you're learning about and doing something with it to communicate to others to make a difference in the world.
That's hats off to you. That's a good one.
Well, what's in the hat? What's under the hat? Oh,
Yeah, it's magic.
it's magic.
I think that's so much the case where a lot of people maybe dislike school because they feel so much of that receiving and being told what to do. But I think, as you're saying, having that agency and that co-creation makes it so much more fun, and personally meaningful.
It's like schooling as control or education as freedom.
Yes.
And so if education is, it's all about building your skills to be in the world to make a difference versus a form of control where you're supposed to learn something to be put in your place.
That's really true.
Why do you think it has taken so long for educators to overcome some exclusionist barriers they may have in their teaching styles?
I can answer that in a couple ways. One is people have been pushing against exclusion and being inclusive for longer than I've been alive. So inclusive education has roots from if you believe in the work and you should be doing it. There's somebody named Paulo Freire. And so his work is really central in education, but it's really about like learning how to read the world and how to make a difference. And actually that connects to my sidebar. The drama work that I do is based in something called Theater of the Oppressed from Augusto Boal. And so these practices are all about what we've been talking about, doing things with the community so the community can make the difference and make change. I think we're back to, I think we're back to where the system itself, people come through being successful and thinking you have to be competitive to be successful and you have to be the best. And so if our system and the experience of teachers is that, it's very hard to shift your perspective to everybody can be successful. And how is education about making change and making things better versus education is an individualistic thing or an individual thing where you should be better at others, competing with others, and you have to put down others to bring yourself up. And so it's a bigger change back to the social model of disability, right? Which is like, there are barriers, there are structures, like the ways that society works that keep some people down and lift some people up. And how do we think about the purpose of education is to lift everybody up and to break barriers. And I don't think we always understand that. And even when we understand that, we get stuck in the day-to-day rules and policies that end up reinforcing like testing and comparing and marks. And so if you're not working on, it's a fancy word, not a great podcast word, but if you're not working on conscientization, just like becoming aware, it's so easy to get caught up in the busyness where you don't even think, you're just busy teaching instead of educating. And so, of course, you need to build skills. Like, look at me and you, Janette. We are reading and we are writing and we are arting. And somebody taught us how to do those things. But for what? And so if you're just doing it for the test and you're thinking, I'm teaching to help kids get better scores, that's very different than I'm helping kids develop tools to use to make a difference. And my job as a teacher is to do that work, which is maybe not what society understands and the history of things sets us up to do. So how do we, there's a very famous theorist, researcher, John Walensky, and he talks about, I've used this in a couple of my papers over time, rewriting the script of schooling, right? So how do we rewrite what we're doing? So teachers have to rewrite what we think teaching is, and schools have to rewrite what schooling is. And it's really hard because everybody's still like, you need a good mark to get to university, and there's only so many spots, which is way different than everybody rocks. How do we help everybody rock?
Yeah.
And also everybody should be rocking things,
Yeah.
sorry, disrupting things. And that's hard for people to understand who want to keep their power. Let's just keep things the same because I don't want to give something up versus there's enough for everybody. We have to learn how to share it together.
That's so true.
Could you imagine if I had more coffee? Good thing you and I had to put our tea down.
Yeah.
Because I'm really high energy all of a sudden.
Oh, I'm digging it.
I always make a joke to people, like if I were to ever do surgery and you open up my hand or whatever, it'd be my blood is made out of coffee, not blood.
Or in this case, a lot of strong tea.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry,
Caffeine
no coffee
pumping
left.
through my vein. So my other question I want to ask you is, from your time in the classrooms, why does it matter that students feel safe, comfortable, and included? What's the whole purpose of that?
You did your research, Jeanette. Oh, Jeanette. Wait,
Hannah.
Hannah.
Jeanette.
I called Hannah your name. Oh, sorry, Hannah.
No, it's all good.
We'll go back and we'll overdub maybe. The California reference was for Hannah, not for Jeanette earlier. So we do know that one of the central principles of inclusion and of all good teaching is to create a sense of community and belonging. We also know that from an Indigenous perspective. So the elders of all the nations in British Columbia who helped create the first people's principles of learning all told us that we have to create spaces of belonging and community, but also create opportunities for kids to share themselves and who they are and their learning. And so that building that space of belonging really makes it possibly like, I can be myself. And a lot of learning is about being vulnerable. And so you have to be able to be, feel cared for, to maybe take a risk. Otherwise, you don't want to take a risk. And I see that I've been talking too long and I'll be briefer on my answers. Look at that. I see all the visual cues around the room. But yeah, belonging is really critical, and belonging within community. And when we create those spaces of belonging, it makes it possible to learn. We also know that there'll be always some points where some people don't feel like they belong or something happens. You have to return and repair what's happened to get back to a place of belonging. We call that restitution, right? Where we actually fix things. But you can't assume it's always going to work because somebody's going to have a bad Friday. Somebody's going to say something unkind. So you have to be ready for that as a group and agree what's our way to get back to okay as a group when things go wrong.
Well, now it's time. The name of the show. What's in the hat? Okay, I'm gonna pass the hat.
Jeanette, did you see I brought a hat with me? I carry my stuff in a hat.
Oh.
Afterwards, we'll go to the staff room and you can see what's in my hat. For now, I'll look at your hat.
Is there a bunny
I'm
rabbit
ready.
in your hat?
Well, you'll have to see.
Oh no.
Oh, am I supposed to read it?
Yeah.
Oh, I can do it right from here. Do you have any funny classroom stories?
Oh.
Should we
Jeanette,
tell
you got one?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know. I gotta think. I think I got one. Okay. When I was in high school, there's a dark room in the photography room, and I wanted to see what was inside there because like the teacher kept saying, "Oh, don't go in there, don't go in there. There's a secret surprise." So then I go in there, and then like someone makes a noise outside of it, and I'm thinking it's haunted. And then I scream, and then I open the door. It's the teacher right outside. She's like, "What did I say? Don't go in there." I'm like, I wasn't in there. She's like, "I see you," and then we're all laughing. It was so funny.
The teachers. You want one from me?
Sure.
Okay. So this is a story to remember a former student of mine, whose name was Jody Leal. And Jody, this is in the home ec room, and they were doing some cooking, and she had a really long braid, and Jody had metatrophic dwarfism, so her body is fused in a certain way, and her hair got on the burner and caught fire. So the educational assistant said, to Jody, your hair's on fire. So in her wheelchair, she's spinning around trying to see her hair, but she can't see it because she keeps turning around.
Oh, no.
She's turning around and around. Anyway, they put it out. Jody told everybody about that story, and the whole class had to be evacuated out of the room while Jody is circling in her wheelchair with the end of her braid on fire. I know her sister DP works with Possibilities and probably knows that story really well, but it's a pretty funny story.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it's a great way to remember Jody chasing her hair when it was on fire.
Oh, I love it. Layden, can you pass to
I
Janette?
can.
Okay, this one kind of jumped out. Do you prefer the smell of new or old books at the most?
First of all, I'm one of the few people who still enjoy the smell of books.
Mhm.
I do love a book. I like the smell of a new book because it's like, what's in here? But I love the smell of an old book because it's like it's important enough to still be around.
Mm.
That's pretty funny. I like new books too, the smell, but then I'm like, I get too intimidated to read it. But then I like the smell of library books because then I can really like jump in and be like, okay, it's not that intimidating. I can jump in now.
There's this a famous study. The book is called Marginalia, but it's about how library books that people really engage with, people write in them and then they put them back. And so if you find a book with lots of writing from different people, it's marginalia, where it's like you couldn't help yourself. You highlight it or you and so you can like read or see what other people liked. So I love
reading other people's notes in the books.
Yeah.
I'm like, you too thought this was crazy. On page 99, what? The mom is still alive? And you're like,
Exactly.
That's funny.
Well, let's pull another. Let's see. Who was your favorite teacher
Oh,
and what made them memorable?
I have that answer. Okay. Sorry, it just comes to my head. Like my
Yes.
grade 6 teacher, his name was Mr. Gordy Gaborski. He was the best teacher anyone could ever have. Like the reason why I say that is because his famous quote, "Today's mistakes are tomorrow's lessons," never ever ever left my mind. Like even if I were to do something that isn't myself, my mom would literally say to me, "Today's mistakes are tomorrow's lessons." I'd be like, "Damn it!" And then I would do the right thing. It was so funny. Yeah.
I don't know how to top that.
it's pretty good.
That was really good. You have your favorite teacher in mind?
One of my favorite teachers was Mrs. Ethier. She was my grade 11 social studies teacher, and she sat us all in a circle. 1986. And we're like, what do you mean? So we're all equal with her, and we would discuss the topic or the issue. We weren't in rows. We're all facing each other. It was crazy. Oh, Mrs. Ethier. Hannah? Formerly Janette?
Yeah. I think I had a lot of elementary school teachers that I remember very fondly. And I had this one teacher, Mrs. Wilson, and she did like a rainforest theme. And I just remember it so much because I thought it was so cool and I really loved animals. And we all got to choose like our rainforest animal and like present it to the class. And it's just really cool. And I just remember how kind she was and how beautiful I thought she was. And I chose a capybara as my animal. And I'm still very fond of capybaras today. So obviously that stuck with me.
Good memory.
Yeah.
That's good.
Jeanette, can you pull another?
Oh,
or
yeah.
Layden, whoever's next. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Oh, I'll sit down. What was your least favorite subject in school?
For me, math.
Same, math. I hate math.
I don't hate it, but
Sorry.
it was my least favorite.
Sorry.
It just means you could have been taught math a different way.
Mm.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
Now we do a lot more with manipulatives. So you start with the concept with manipulatives, and if you start with that and just play with it, and you're like, you're already doing fractions. How do they work? Like, yeah, I'd say mine is typing.
Mm.
Oh.
My high school typing teacher told me I should drop the course too. I'm probably gonna fail it. So I got really determined and I passed it.
That's
But my
good.
friend failed. So anyway, I won't say his name, but it's in my mind.
Never forget.
No.
Yeah. Okay, I think we have time for one more.
Okay, thank you.
What was your favorite food or treat from your school cafeteria?
I know mine.
Well, what's it?
My elementary school used to have this coffee cake,
Ooh.
and it was so good, and everyone would like line up like early in the morning because they would only have it like once a month. And that was great. I still remember how it was super cinnamony, and
Oh, darn.
they warmed
Sounds
it up
good.
so it would be warm. It was so good.
I think mine cuts across the decades. This would be the 80s. It was fries with gravy.
That sounds good.
Like literally fries with gravy was like, I don't actually remember the cafeteria having anything else because it was basically fries with gravy.
Yeah.
And my high school, I'm like all the small towns come into the city. So there were like 1,800 of us in my
Wow.
high school. But you know what? There was enough fries and gravy for everybody.
That's right.
If you could pay that $1.
I don't know and not really the most tasting well, but like they're all tasted really good to be honest. But like my favorite like memory of it was that after we had our sushi, in elementary school, we dunked wasabi in water, and we had wasabi
Ooh.
challenges. Whoever could drink the water the fastest and hold it down would get the other person's lunch.
Okay, that just revealed that you're from Vancouver.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I have to say, in the prairies, there was no wasabi or sushi.
Same
But
here.
that was very telling. That's a good one.
It's kind of fun. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, Janette, for that. And I think that actually wraps our show. We had so much fun learning so many new things today. And yeah, we're all done for today, but we hope people check out more about Leighton's work and more about inclusive education. And we do have a question for the viewers. I'll let Janette take it away. Something to ponder as you finish this episode.
Yeah. My question for everyone is, do you really think teachers like apples?
That's a good one. And with that, Leighton, I'll let you take it away. If there's any resources people can check out if they want to learn more and they liked what they were listening to today.
Great. Well, the first kind of announcement I have is that the Disability Theater Project I co-direct, our next production is June 4th, 5th, and 6th, 2026 at the Massey Theater in New Westminster, and it's called We All Need a Home. So we're very excited about that project. And that's co-created with folks with disabilities about messages they want to send. There's a new book by someone called Shane Saphir. Her last name is Safir. And in chapter 4, I wrote a section called Radical Inclusion. It's all about disability justice and education. And so that's like the freshest version of what we've been talking about. And then I also highly recommend Shelley Moore's 5 More Minutes. And when I walked into Possibilities today, I saw an image from one of her videos on the wall around these circles with dots in it. And that came from her work. And I taught Shelley in grade 8 and grade 9 in Edmonton before I taught DP Leon.
Amazing. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. And we will see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
What are we talking about today?
Education.
That's a wrap on this episode of What's in the Hat. Thanks for tuning in.
If you enjoyed everything you heard, please don't forget to follow us on social media and don't forget to share it with a friend too.
It really helps new listeners find the show. See you there.
We want to give a special thank you to our guest, Leighton Schnellert, for joining the fellowship on this episode of our miniseries, Laughing Matters, which was hosted by Hannah and Janette this time. If you're feeling curious about some of the topics discussed in this episode, follow the links on the screen or find them on our page. What's in the Hat Laughing Matters is a proud production of the Social Media Fellowship. This series is executive produced by Hannah Nolan and me, Matthew Ratchman. Graphics and branding by Janelle Hagerman. Guest booking and research by Hannah Nolan. Production, sound design, and video editing by Matthew Ratchman. Production assistance by Kofi Abretha. Music is intro and outro by Janelle Hagerman. Next Steps by Half Cool. Point Counterpoint by John Patitucci. Rise Funk and Trunk by Windows Again. Speak the Truth by Go by the Ocean and Ryan McCaffrey. And Waterpark Radio Ad by Freedom Trail Studio. The Laughing Matters miniseries is produced with the support of TELUS STORYHIVE. Plus, we want to give a special thanks to Possibilities Association of British Columbia for supporting us in making this episode. You can find the fellowship alongside more episodes and clips on our Instagram at social.media.fellows. You can also find us on YouTube at social.media.fellowship and TikTok at socialmediafellows. That's with no dots or periods. You can also listen to us on the radio every second Thursday a month at 1 p.m. on 101.9 FM CITR or on citr.ca/radio/what's-in-the-hat. Please visit our website at socialmediafellowship.ca or our linktree at linktree/social.media.fellows. Again, thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.